What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ant. Today we're making one of my favorite things, lasagna. Chicken lasagna. Now, chicken lasagna is actually one of the first things I ever tried to make seriously back in 2008, man, 11 years ago. I didn't make my own recipes back then, so I used this recipe that I think I found online somewhere. And even though the recipe was pretty thorough, I cooked everything correctly, but one thing I had no grasp on was seasoning. So you know how much seasoning I put into it? None! But don't worry, because this one is miles ahead of that one. Come on. Now, we're only going to need 3 boneless, skinless chicken breasts for this. And since we're dealing with protein, of course we have to season them up with seasoned salt and black pepper on both sides. And I think you know what happens next. Drop those into your handy dandy slow cooker. And let that go for 4 hours. And you know what else takes about 4 hours to make? Ricotta cheese! Come on. What? Why didn't I just buy it? Because I like making it. Now when my mother found out that I make my own ricotta, she was like, what are you, a farmer? I love my mama. Come on. So what I have here for the ricotta cheese, we have 4 cups of milk, 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, and finally 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Table salt will not do it. We're going to put that on medium-low heat for 17 minutes. Now, the reason why we're cooking the ricotta cheese mixture low and slow is because there's plenty of dairy products in there, especially milk, and milk has a tendency of boiling over really fast without warning. So keeping it low like this is a way to keep your eye on it. I guess the alternative would be cooking it in the microwave, but I don't own a microwave. Actually, I do, but it doesn't work. I'll explain that one day. See, our mixture is nice and boiling. So what you want to do finally is add 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Now you don't want to add the lemon juice ahead of time because if you do, then the curds will not form in the end. But what you also want to do is increase the heat to medium and let that boil for 1 additional minute. Why only 1 more minute? Look at it, it's almost boiling over there. So finally what you want to do is lower it to low to let that simmer. Now you're going to actually cover it, and it's going to simmer for 3 to 4 hours. Okay, as you can see, our chicken breasts have been drained, cooled, and shredded. But we still have to make a few more things, so let's get this out of the way for now. Alright, so what we're going to do next is separate the ricotta cheese curds from the rest of the liquid. Now the best way to do that is to use a medium colander, but position it over a medium to large mixing bowl. Now here's where things get a little tricky. It's hard to find just the right size of bowl, but if you own a KitchenAid like I do, that happens to be the right size bowl. See how the colander goes right on top of it? And I'm pretty sure you all know how a colander works, so we're just going to pour the ricotta cheese mixture right inside. See, there's some nice ricotta cheese curds, homemade. Now we're just gonna dump this into a small airtight container, and what to do with all this? We just dump it. Yeah, it may seem kind of pointless, but trust me, all this work will be worth it in the end. Now we're going to place the ricotta cheese into the refrigerator while we get every other part of this lasagna ready. So let's get to it. Okay, now back to the chicken. We're going to add a few more things to that, which are 2 egg yolks and a little bit of seasoning. That is seasoned salt, black pepper, and cinnamon. So this is our lasagna dough right here. It's basically flour, eggs, water, and salt. Now if you think it looks a little too wet or almost even a little like batter, don't worry about it, because you see my counter is all floured up here, which means we're about to flour it up, and when you add a little bit more flour, it'll be just the right texture for dough. See? Oh, and if you haven't done so already, set your oven to 350 degrees. So, guess what we're going to do after we put the dough ball together? We're going to cut it apart! Anyway, as you can see, I used a floured serrated knife and cut it into 6 pieces. So the next thing you'll notice is that I used a floured rolling pin and I rolled out each dough ball into a sheet. Thus we have 6 sheets. And you'll also notice that they're not anywhere near uniform, which is just fine because, well, unless you have a machine that makes lasagna, you will never get uniform noodles. But like I said, it's just fine. One other thing you might notice is that, well, maybe you were expecting 8 sheets because most lasagnas are probably 3 layers. But trust me, I pack plenty of filling into my 2-layer lasagnas. Now it's time for the good stuff. First, we'll put down some of our homemade marinara sauce. It's basically tomatoes, water, garlic, onions, and seasonings. Put down 2 sheets, more marinara, half of our homemade ricotta cheese, half of our chicken mixture, and 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese. Now, even though the ricotta cheese is homemade, the mozzarella isn't because, well, I just haven't learned to do that yet. I'll figure it out one day, and then I'll show you. Anyway, you're going to repeat the layers. 2 more sheets down, and follow that up by more marinara, the rest of the ricotta cheese, the rest of the chicken mixture, but only 1/2 cup more of the mozzarella cheese. So we have our last 2 sheets layered there. And one thing you'll notice is that every time you put a new layer down, it'll kind of slide and spread out a little bit. That's fine. In fact, you want that to happen. But anyway, our last 2 sheets are there, followed by the last of the marinara sauce and the last of the mozzarella cheese. Oh, and what you're also going to do is sprinkle some parsley flakes on top. Oh, and by the way, I don't care what anybody says. Parsley is just for decoration because it really doesn't taste like anything. And now let's get to baking. Throw the lasagna into your preheated oven, 350 degrees preheated that is, for 35 minutes. Look at that lasagna. Now you can't say all that work wasn't worth it. I can finish this whole damn thing right now. In fact, I can finish all 4 of those pieces right now. Well, maybe not, but I do understand why Garfield loves this stuff. Another cartoon character reference. Well, that's all I have for you. You know where to look if you want to get the lasagna recipe. Thanks for being with me, and I'll see you again soon. You know, now that I think about it, I don't remember Garfield ever eating chicken lasagna. He had sausage in this one episode. He had pepperoni parmesan in another episode. Why do I remember that stuff?